the perfect example of ego. You have $1,000, right? You give it to a friend in need. Your friend comes to you, needs $1,000. They use your $1,000 to make a $1 million company. Now you feel like you own their company 100%. The only reason they have a company is because of you, and you own a huge portion of it, even though you haven't negotiated, even though you haven't signed a contract. But in your mind, you feel entitled to it because you feel like if it wasn't for your measly $1,000, they would have never built a company without you. The problem with that is they could have borrowed $1,000 from anybody. It didn't have to be you. It could have been you, could have been your neighbor, could have been someone down the street. You know what I mean? Like, it takes an incredible, ridiculous amount of talent to take $1,000 and turn it into $1 million. It takes no talent to take $1,000 and turn it into zero. Tax return season is just about here. People do that all the time with their money. They'll take it and they'll, like, you know what I mean? They'll have nothing. They won't invest it properly, you know? So personally, I can't explain to you how good it feels that if I ever gave anybody $1,000 and they turn it into $1 million, I feel like virtually 0% responsible for their success, because I know that it took ridiculous talent for them to get that. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that, I won't have a sense of entitlement. I won't feel like they owe me anything. I don't care if they ever come back to me. You know what I mean? If they turn into a millionaire, completely forget about me. This is where people get crushed in life. They're like, yo, man, the nerve of this person to take what I loaned them, right? And now they don't want to pay me back. They don't want to answer my calls, you know, because we feel so entitled to receiving something all the time from friends, always expecting something, man. Ego, you know. Sometimes you might notice one of your friends have favoritism towards one person. Your friend likes somebody else more than they like you. And if you have entitlement, you're going to think that that's not right, that they should equally like everybody. But that's not true in your life. I mean, you don't equally like everybody. There's probably a lot of people you hate and you despise and you can't stand to be near. You know what I mean? Like, how about you apply the same philosophy that you try to say that other people should follow? You won't apply that to your life. You know what I mean? So if you have a friend and they seem to have favoritism towards liking somebody else, if you have entitlement, you're going to act like they don't have the right to prefer one person over you. They don't have the right, you know what I mean? And then you're going to weigh out what you think somebody else has the right to do. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, man, in a lot of cases, like, I think a lot of ego could come from just the inability to mind your damn business. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not chasing your own dream, if you're not focusing on what the hell you want to do, like, this is where you're going to have idle time to, like, focus on what the next man is doing and how things are happening this way. And man, this person likes that person more than me. I don't understand why. Like, I bring this level of value. Like, the customer should like me more, or this friend should like me more. You know what I mean? Like, here's another example of ego. It's going to sound so ridiculous. Imagine a chef, right? He's cooking, right? And a lot of people hate his food. They're like, yo, your food sucks. And he starts saying, this is what egotistical people, they're going to sound like. They're going to be like, so he's a chef, right? People walk into his restaurant, they complain about the food, it's terrible. And then he straight up tells the customer, yo, I make good food. I don't know what the hell is wrong with your taste buds, but you need to get your taste buds adjusted because there's nothing wrong with my recipe. And puts himself out of business with that philosophy. You know what I mean? The ego is not willing to adapt. The ego thinks that the world should adapt to you. You know what I mean? And then it's going to make you a complainer. You won't be adaptable at all. Like, everything has to pass through your permission. Everything has to be your way. Everything has to go according to your preference, which makes you positioned for life happening to you. You know what I mean? You're going to look up at that sky, God, why me? Why is this happening to me? Because you're egotistical. You know what I mean? Because, like, when bad shit happens, you spend time complaining instead of trying to adapt. I'm obsessed with being adaptable. That's why I rarely complain. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, some girl told me to kill myself the other day, you know, right? I could have spent 10 minutes complaining about that. I could have spent 10, 15 minutes trying to adjust her attitude. But I'm so glad that I thoroughly understand that anyone who says crazy shit like that to me, they're probably not doing good in life. They're probably not happy at all. They probably need me to give them a boost instead of me being offended by them. You know what I mean? So yeah, like, I had to get rid of ego in order for me to love people like that, to tell me to go kill myself, to tell me, fuck your mother, fuck your grandma. Yo, when people say that to me, I'm not affected at all because, well, I believe in free speech, right? I believe they have the right to say what they want to me, right? So they could say whatever they feel like saying, regardless of how It's impossible for someone to violate me with words, because if I feel like you have the right to say whatever you want to, how can you ever violate me with any type of words? You know what I mean? In order for me to be bothered by your words, I first have to value your opinion. And if you're a random person on the internet, like, why would I value your opinion that much for you to garner an emotional response out of me? You know what I mean? Like, you're a random person, like, you don't know me, you don't know what goes on in my life, right? You know? So I'll always listen to people, right? Because there's a chance someone might be saying something that's actually valuable, you know? But anyways, yeah, ego, man, really, it kills people. But give me a second. What's up, Bob? What's up, Delante? Congratulations when they do good. Yeah, man. Yeah, I love to see people doing good. When the people doing good, I need to get slapped, but real shit, bro. Because their parents are cowards and didn't teach them. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know what makes people the way they are. I do know that they take mentorship from somebody. Like, something's making people the way that they are. I don't know where they get their life's lessons from, but you know, like, even those people, man, I have empathy towards, and I wish them the best. Even the egomaniacs in the world that nobody wants to be friends with them, nobody wants to be cool with them. But yeah, a lot of people want to take credit for something, you know? Like, I want you to imagine a scenario. I'll give you a couple more examples. It's going to be a short podcast, but I want you to imagine, all right, let's say you get your friend a job, like, right? You know, you got your friend a referral, you know, you got him hired, you know. 10 years later, you and your friend get into an argument, and then you try to remind your friend that he would have never had a job if you didn't, like, you know, if you didn't get him admitted into that position, you know, if you didn't put in a good word or whatever. Like, yeah, maybe you got him the job, okay, but if he maintained that job for 10 years, I think him staying there has a lot to do with him being a good employee and not with you turning in his resume. You know what I mean? Like, there's it's people that will try to take credit for stuff like that, and then they'll be so mad. Like, the ego comes out when the ego is not, like, when a person's not getting what they want. That's when they get egotistical. They're like, yo, let me remind you, I provided this level of value. I did this for you. I did that. And yo, to those of you that like throwing that, like, in people's faces and, like, reminding people of what you did for them, I gotta remind you, just because you buy people stuff, that doesn't make you a likable person. It doesn't mean I'm gonna like you because you buy me stuff. Like, you can't buy my respect, you can't buy my love. You know what I mean? Like, man, I had people try to buy me stuff and they thought that was gonna mean something to me. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be cool with me, like, just, you know, be a reasonable person. You know what I mean? Like, you know. So yeah, I don't know. It depends on, like, who I get tight with, who I form a strong bond with. It all depends if we're like-minded, you know what I mean? And although I do love all people, I won't be able to vibe with certain people to a certain extent if we're not like-minded, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking about different stuff. I'm thinking about what I want to accomplish before I die. I'm thinking about how much impact I want to have. I'm thinking about how to take the speaking thing that I'm doing on here, like these free podcasts, and turning it into actual career. Like, I'm thinking about, you know, ways to get paid, man. Not to ways to, like, sit down and complain about the government, or complain about Trump, or complain about, yo, like, government policies are never going to be good. Yo, you know, people, like, presidents are never going to be perfect. Like, this is a broken world. It's going to produce broken people. You know what I mean? Like, we live in a broken world. We expect so many things to be perfect, but it's like, don't you know that broken people created these broken policies and the things that you complain about, and, you know what I mean, the structure. And so that's probably never going to change. But what could change is me, you know, like, life changes when I change. So give me a second. I got to charge my phone really quick. So yeah, man. I remember one time, yo, I remember somebody bought me pizza, and as I was eating it, he asked me, so how does the pizza taste? I'm like, oh, it's pretty good, dude. I forgot to say thank you. Like, I wasn't even aware that that's what he was insinuating, that I should be grateful, that I should say thank you, whatever. So as I'm eating the pizza, he's like, yo, so is it good? How you like it? I'm like, yo, it's pretty good, dude. And then he clears his throat. He's like, you're welcome, and walks in his room. Yo, I wanted to shove the pizza so far up his ass. Like, this is when stupid stuff like that used to bother me. You know what I mean? Like, I was, in my mind, I was like, yo, who the hell this guy think he is, clearing his throat and he's trying to cue me up for me to be thankful towards him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if at the time I was thinking, like, bro, if you didn't buy me this pizza, I could have went in the fridge. I could have bought something else. You know what I mean? Like, people are always thinking like they're your redeemer, like they're your savior, like they would be nothing without you. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, like, only Jesus holds that spot. You know what I mean? You're not my redeemer. You're not my savior. You're not my Lord. You know, but yo, the ego will make someone act that way towards you. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. Like, if that same scenario happened now, I probably would just laugh. I'd be like, oh, this guy, man, doesn't understand how that type of attitude is going to destroy his life. The same person would also get mad when people wouldn't thank him. Like, he let somebody merge their vehicle into traffic, and he gets mad when people don't wave their hand as an act of as a act of kindness, as a kind gesture, like, hey, thanks for letting me merge into traffic, dude. Like, he was so entitled to receiving a thank you. And I'm like, bro, like, if you do everything for a thank you. He's like, oh, it's not about getting a thank you. I'm like, if it's not about getting a thank you, then why do you overreact every time you don't get one? Your actions prove that it's all about getting a thank you. You know what I mean? If you self-destruct when you don't receive one, then bro, like, that means your acts of kindness it stems from a place of, you need to be thankful because let me remind you that I didn't have to do this for you. Like, you know what I mean? And I remember I told this dude, I'm like, yo, bro, look, listen. If your mom, let's say every time you pissed off your mother, she reminded you that she didn't have to bring you into this world. She could have aborted you. Like, every time you do something wrong, she brings up how she could have aborted you. You know what I mean? At some point, you're going to think that your own mother has remorse for you being in this world, or she regrets giving life to you. Like, she made a mistake bringing you here, and she should have aborted you. You know what I mean? Like, your own mother's going to make you feel like she doesn't rejoice in the fact that you're alive, that you're more of a burden than you are a blessing. And it's going to reflect in her attitude. And like, every time you mess up, she brings that up. You know what I mean? So I was trying to use that as an example to show him, dude, that's how you sound when you do something kind for somebody and you're so quick to remind them that you didn't have to. You know what I mean? Like, like, people so desperately want their acts of kindness to mean so much to them because they like the feeling that it produces when someone says thank you. They're like, what'd you say? Oh, thank you. You know what I mean? It's like they're getting high or something. Like, they need a double hit. They need to hear it twice so they could feel so good about themselves. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone wants to be appreciated. Everyone wants to, so I don't know. Personally, I thank God that if I do something kind for you, I don't give a damn if you appreciate it. Like, that's not my issue. It's not my issue that you struggle with gratitude. You know what I mean? Like, my issue is I heard the Lord talking to me. He told me to do an act of kindness for you, right? I did the act of kindness. However you respond, that's your business. That's between you and God. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to have no remorse in my heart that, damn unthankful people, how dare they take from me, and how dare, like, you know what I mean? I do something kind for somebody and they don't want to be. You don't have to have gratitude. There's no rule in this world that makes you obligated to have gratitude. You know what I mean? I think your life would be happier if you have it. Of course, I would recommend it, but I don't see, you know what I mean? Like, I struggle to see what humans are obligated to do. I could only think of two things that I really think humans are obligated to do. You have to die. Number one, you're obligated to die. Like, when death comes, that's it. You can't say no. You can't say not right now, I'm not ready. Like, when it's your time, it's your time. So that's one obligation. Two, you have to be judged by God. You know what I mean? And besides that, those two things, I struggle to think of one other thing that you absolutely have to do. People say you have to get a job. No, you don't. You can live off other people your whole life. I mean, like, it's not a recommended way of living, but it's an option, isn't it? People say you have to be a good father. Like, well, what about all the irresponsible fathers out there? You know what I mean? Like, or you have to, you know what I mean? You have to do this by your kids, or you have to do this by your government, or you have to be this type of person. You know what I mean? And the ego is always trying to place those type of expectations on people. Like, like you have to believe in Jesus, or you have to be vegan, or you have to be a outstanding citizen. It's like, bruh, like, free choice, like free will. You know what I mean? People do what they prefer to be doing. It's very rare that people do what they quote unquote should be doing, but usually people are going to do whatever the hell they want to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's within their free choice to pick that, I mean, whether or not people make smart decisions, that'd be a separate conversation. You know what I mean? Because I understand people don't always make smart decisions, but they're not obligated to be smart. You know what I mean? You might be like, yo, why are people so, like, dumb, yo? Because they're not obligated to be intelligent. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have to, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Anyways, so, like, dropping ego for me, it's a blessing, yo. Like, I don't scroll through Facebook trying to, like, condemn people. I don't scroll through Facebook trying to say what ought not to be, and what has to be, and what must be, and what should be. I don't do none of that. And because I don't do none of that, like, I have good days all the time. Like, do I want people to be doing good? Of course. But more than I want people to be doing good, I want them to want good for themselves, because it means nothing to you if I want good for your life if you don't want the same thing. Like, if you want to destroy your life, if you want to overdose on heroin, if you want to let drugs overtake your life, then it won't matter that I want the best for you, because you don't want the best for you. You know what I mean? So much more than I want the best for people is me wanting them to want that for themselves, because that's when it's powerful. That's when it's impactful in your life. When you want, you know what I mean? Like, when you want good things to happen for you. One of my favorite motivational speakers, he gets a lot of people telling him, yo, you changed my life. Thanks to your message. Like, I started doing this, I started doing that. And they really try to give him all the credit. And he's like, thanks to me, bro. Nah, thanks to you, because I might have given you the message, but you're the one that chose to listen to it. You know what I mean? Like he got this one testimony. There was a guy that told him, he caught him in the street. He was like, bro, look, I used to beat my girlfriend, man. Like, I used to kick her ass before I started watching your videos. Now I watch your videos, bro. I don't beat my girl anymore. Like, thank you, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And then he'll try to give, like, people like that will try to give the credit to this motivational speaker. And he's like, yo, like, I didn't make you stop beating your girlfriend. Like, my message must have convicted your heart so much that you found it within yourself to, like, you know, want to submit to it, want to be a better man, want to like do things differently. And that has nothing to do with me. I just gave the message. You chose to use the message and like adapt it to your lifestyle. You know what I mean? So, so yeah, like there's just so many people that they want to take credit for someone else doing well, you know? And a lot of my music, a lot of songs I used to write, it used to be egotistical, man. No wonder that I used to struggle with depression. No wonder, because I had an expectation issue, man. I had entitlement. I thought because I love somebody, they should love me back. I thought because I provide tremendous amount of value, or what I perceive to be valuable. Here's one of the biggest things I learned in life. Just because I'm providing you value, in my mind, it doesn't mean it's valuable to you. Like, just because I buy you a gourmet dinner doesn't mean that you can't possibly perceive it as a bag of potato chips and it completely meaningless to you. Like, what's a gourmet dinner to me might be a bag of potato chips to you. You know what I mean? So if you wonder why people can't appreciate you, just think about it that way. You might think that you're giving people gourmet dinners. They're like, yo, like, I don't need a bag of potato chips. No, thank you. You know what I mean? So when people respond in an unthankful, non-gratitude having type of way, just know that they might not perceive your gift as a gift. You know what I mean? They might perceive, yo, you know how many people for Christmas, they probably got a $400 vacuum cleaner, and, you know, and then they're like, yeah, you know, they kind of want to say thank you, like, because they appreciate the gesture, but it's like, bro, I don't need a $400 vacuum cleaner. Like, how come you didn't call me? Like, you know, I'm struggling with bills. How come you didn't, like, if you gave me the option and you was like, bro, do you want a $400 vacuum cleaner, or do you want $400? Most people will take the money, but some people, they're like, oh, I don't want to just give you the money, because they're so controlling that they don't know how you're going to spend that money. They like to spend $400 on one gift so that they know exactly where their money goes, right? So they won't give you the $400 cash. Like, some people are actually that controlling that they won't give you $400 because they have no idea if you're going to give half of it to other people. They don't know if you're going to spend some of it on drugs. They don't know. So they buy an expensive gift so that they don't have to have the freaking panic attack about where their money goes specifically, because they like knowing that type of shit for whatever reason, you know? But for me personally, like, if I was going to buy somebody a $400 gift for Christmas, I would call them first. Like, yo, I was thinking about buying you this, but if you prefer the money, bro, I'll give you the $400 instead, the $300. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, here's the thing about life, right? Somebody probably received a $400 vacuum cleaner and they're like, yo, bro, like, you know, I don't really want this, like, you know, and then the other person's going to try to turn around and make it seem like, oh, you're being unthankful, like you're being unappreciative, like, man, damn, people these days have no gratitude. It's like, bruh, it's hard for me to have gratitude towards something that I really don't need. You know what I mean? Like, like I said, like, you know, I'm struggling with bills. You know, I got this going on. You know, I got that going on. You didn't even have the courtesy of calling me and saying, hey, bro, like, would you prefer the money? You know what I mean? Like, you think people should just kiss your feet, man? You think people should just be appreciative of everything you do for them? Like, here's the thing about a lot of humans. They have a manipulative nature. And the only reason that you're doing acts of kindness for somebody is to be thanked, or because you're sowing seeds into people so that you could try to exploit them for something later on. Manipulation, man. Like, you're not a kind person if you constantly remind people how you did good things for them and now they owe you something. Like, how is that being kind? How is that not manipulation? You know what I mean? Like, if I do something kind for you, you don't owe me shit. Like, you don't have to pay me at all. You don't have to recognize me. And that feels good. That's such a weight off my shoulders. You know what I mean? Because I'm not like waiting, like, for you to say something that you shouldn't say so I could remind you how I didn't have to be kind. Like, what the hell? What is that? We need to have that conversation, yo, because it's important, man, because so many people are doing that. You don't even realize how you're destroying your own life, adding unnecessary stress to your own life by being a certain way. You know what I mean? Like just by carrying negative energy like that, feeling so entitled to receiving a thank you just because you did something kind for somebody. So what? Like even pagans know how to do kind things for people they love. What makes you special for doing something kind? Okay, you did an act of kindness. Like, would you want a trophy for that? Would you want someone to bake you cookies for that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm more impressed if you do an act of kindness and you don't need nothing back from the person, and you don't care like that they don't appreciate it. You don't care that how they feel about your gift. That doesn't matter to you because you did it because it was on your heart to do it, not because you're trying to get a thank you. You know what I mean? So anyways, I'm sure on Christmas, somebody got an expensive ass gift that they didn't ask for, nor did they need. And they probably told the person, hey, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I kind of don't need this gift. And the other person probably flipped like, yo, how dare you like not take the gift, man? Like, why don't you appreciate it? Why don't you? It's like, bro, you don't get to decide for the next man what's valuable. Like, you might think that $400 vacuum cleaner means something, but you don't get to make that decision for other people. That's ego, man. Like, when I put out content, if I put out content that sucks, like, let me tell you about a girl who, she deleted me because she didn't like me talking about the pharmaceutical companies, right? Regardless of how I feel about her opinion, I don't get to make the decision for her that, like, you know what I mean? Like, my podcast is meaningful, or she shouldn't flip, or she shouldn't be negative. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who am I to say, like, what shouldn't, she could be as negative as she want to be. Like, it's only going to affect her, like, So she got mad because she was like, yo, she had an attitude like, yo, how dare you question pharmaceutical companies? And I'm like, yo, that shit, it turns people into zombies. That's why I question it. Like, you know what I mean? These pills, it seems to destroy more than it helps, And she didn't like me doing that type of podcast. So she was like, but life is a numbers game. When I put out this content, some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. And I don't get to decide, well, it's good content. Well, you should like it. Well, you not like, nah, man, like some people are going to like it. It just all depends on mindset. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm going to end on this story, right? Unless anything else comes to mind, but give me a second. Let me read through some of the comments. I apologize, yo. Let me see. I got your back though, bro. If you're at your job for 10 years and a person who helps gets the benefits, so yeah, you're right. If you hold up your era, end of the deal, it's a win. But people don't think like that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. What's up, everybody? Yo, so the last thing I wanted to end on, give me a second. This train passing in the background got me distracted. I apologize. I was talking about ego, and I was talking about, oh yeah, I don't get to decide for you what's good content, right? All right, personally, right? I don't think curse words are a big deal, right? But I apologize. All right. I don't think a curse word is a big deal, right? But I don't get to decide for you that it shouldn't be offensive. Like, it's not offensive to me. Like, if I hear a motivational speaker talk and he's full of curse words, like, I just thank God that personally I'm able to hear past the curse words and actually extract the meaningful message that could change my life. Some people, they hear one curse word, they're turning off the video instantly. It doesn't matter if I think that's corny, because I can't decide for people that think curse words are offensive that it shouldn't be that way, that they shouldn't perceive it that way. It's like, yo, be as offended as you want to be. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't. Like, yeah, it's corny to me, but like, so not everything is for everybody. Like Grand Theft Auto, like, as good as that game is, not everybody likes it. Minecraft, that's not for everybody. Hip hop is not for everybody. I don't know. I don't know if there's one thing that's for everybody. You know what I mean? Especially if they're going to reject it, or especially if they have their own way, their own thing that they like. You know what I'm saying? So the lady who got mad at me doing a podcast about how I don't agree with how quick people are to medicate people, you know what I mean? Because like, yo, like, because when I was going through it, because I used to be on pills too, man. That's why I talk about the shit. Like, when I used to be on Risperdal and Depakote and having mental breakdowns and in a mental facility, like, yo, that shit zombified me, yo. Like, when people would speak to me, it took me 2 seconds to process what you're saying and another 3 seconds to actually speak back to you in regards to what you just said. Like, it was that much of a lag time between what you say, me hearing it, interpreting it, and understanding it, and then actually having a response. Like, yo, I wasn't that retarded before taking those pills, you know what I mean? So I knew what those pills was doing to me. But so anyways, but she had a perspective of, man, how dare you question pharmaceutical companies? Like, so I don't know if those companies are her Lord and Savior or what, but she damn sure defended it as if it was. She told me, she was like, yo, until you have someone who's sick and needs medication, she was like something like, I suggest you keep your mouth shut, or I suggest you don't speak on things that you're not knowledgeable of, or blah blah blah. But basically, since I'm not a doctor, I'm not qualified to talk about it, right? So okay, that's her opinion. Like, what am I gonna do? Get mad that she has it? Like, you know what I mean? Some people are always gonna feel like that. Some people are always gonna feel like, unless you're a mechanic, I don't want to hear you talk about cars. Unless you're a doctor, I don't want to hear you talk about medicine. Unless you're a pastor, I don't want to hear you talk about Bible scripture. You know what I mean? And there's this misconception that because someone's a professional or they have a title that they know exactly what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, they might or they might not. You know what I mean? Because I know this girl who has a pastor. Her pastor told her, "Hey, don't believe everything in the Bible because a lot of it is metaphorical. Like a lot of things didn't actually happen. Like Noah's Ark didn't actually happen." Or like a lot of the crazy miracles, she was like, the pastor told her that it's basically just for example purposes. You know what I mean? And she believes it. She believes it because she says, well, he's a pastor, so he's qualified to interpret these things properly. Don't you know that the pastor that reads you scriptures might not know what the hell he's talking about? Don't you know there's a chance of that? You know what I mean? Like, we're so quick to recognize that somebody as a professional and then make them infallible, like make them so that like they can't possibly can't possibly be wrong because they're professionals. And it's like, bruh, that's like a lot of times that's the furthest from the truth. Sometimes they're the most wrong. You know what I mean? And people are going to rally behind them just because they have a title, just because they're they got a doctorate degree in something. You know what I mean? And it's like, so I don't know, man. But anyways, it's really not my business, like what people believe. It's like, whatever. She wants to have that attitude. I'm glad that I don't take people personal. You know what I mean? I much prefer to take God personal than to take offenses or to take people's attitude personal. Because if I take you personal, my day's over. Like, me having a good day, it's not gonna happen because I took you personal. Like, you said something that I believe you shouldn't have said. Now I feel like I have to adjust you. Now I feel like I have to correct you. Now I feel like, you know what I mean? Now I feel like I have to, like, you know what I mean? Like, mind your business instead of mind my business. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be a bad day for me, like, if with that attitude, So like, I feel like it's important for me, at least, to stay focus driven, to focus on, you know what I mean? If I had 10 minutes to live, I wouldn't worry about someone saying something offensive. You know what I mean? Like, if I had 10 minutes to live, there's very few things that still matter. You know what I mean? Like, whether or not God is real, whether or not there's an afterlife, whether or not I'm going to heaven, whether or not I completed my mission on this earth, whatever the hell I was supposed to accomplish, whatever I was created to do. These are the things that matter. And these are the only things that I allow to matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why when people say crazy stuff like, Rob, you should go kill yourself, they can't even generate an emotional response out of me, because I know if I had 10 minutes to live, I would not spend my last 10 minutes debating this person on how they shouldn't have said that to me, how they should have never violated me. First of all, you're only as violated as you feel. You know what I mean? If you don't feel violated, then you're not violated. You know what I mean? And like, in order for someone to tell me to kill myself, in order for those words to have a negative impact on me, I first have to value your opinion. If I don't give a damn about your opinion, how can those words infiltrate me at all? Like, your opinion is meaningless to me. Plus, it's because I have a filter. I have a filter of, on the right side is a bucket full of meaningful things people say, and on the left side is a bucket full of meaningless things people say. So everything you say to me that's irrelevant, as quickly as it enters my earlobes, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just goes out right away into the bucket of meaningless shit that wasn't worth my time consuming. That's why you can't generate a response out of me, because I'm not alive for you to say the right things to me. I'm not alive for you to say the magic words, you know what I mean? And treat me fairly and be kind to me. Like, you don't owe me your kindness or your compassion or your love or any of that, you know what I mean? And since I don't feel entitled to any of these things, right? When I don't receive it, I won't get egotistical about it, because I don't believe that you wake up in the morning to meet my needs anyways. You know what I mean? Like, most people wake up in the morning to do what the hell they want to do, whatever that is. You know what I mean? And like I said, whether they occupy their time in a healthy manner is a separate conversation. But one thing I could say with accuracy, I'm sure, like, people do what they prefer to be doing a lot of the times. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's cases where, like, you might feel like you're obligated, or you might feel like you have to do certain things. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what keeps people at jobs that they hate for so long, because they feel like they're obligated. They feel like they have to stay there. You know what I mean? Those people don't realize that when they work their 9 to 5, when they come home they can work on their podcast. They can work on building their personal brand. They can work on trying to figure out how to be a millionaire. Like, they can do these things. But the thing is, like, most people work 8 hours a day, sleep 8 hours a day, and then entertain themselves 8 hours a day, which means entertainment stands in the way of what you want to become. You know what I mean? Like, so for the people that are not where they want to be, like, just know that entertainment is probably standing in the way of that. You know what I mean? Like, you smoking blunts all days with people that don't want to become anything. It's probably standing in the way of you becoming something. It's probably standing in the way of you going to those seminars, you watching those videos, you learning the information that makes you more of a competent person to go obtain and go get everything that this world told you couldn't have. You know what I mean? Because you in your heart, you probably know that you're capable of doing great things. You know what I mean? But you might not get there with 8 hours a fortnight per night. You know what I'm saying? Like 4 hours of Netflix per day. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, I have no idea how I got on that topic, but yeah, man. So it feels good not to be entitled. You know what I mean? Because so many people think that somebody owes them something, you know, like you might have grown up with relatives, right? Like maybe you have a sister and you notice that your parents had a tendency to love that your sister more than they love you, right? You know, and just hope it doesn't hurt your feelings when I say this, but it might have been a reason for that. Like, right? Maybe your attitude was so destructive that your own parents didn't like you, right? Like some people think that it's impossible for their parents not to like you. You know what I mean? Actually, I was watching, this reminds me of a video I was watching. The guy said, don't let your kids do anything that makes you dislike them, you know? And his reason for saying that was, when your kids are doing shit that makes you dislike them, it might bring out your inner demons, or it might make you discipline them in a manner that you wouldn't have had you not been pissed off by their behavior. You know what I mean? And if you start not liking your kids, it's a good chance that other adults are not going to like your kids. And if you don't like your own kids and other adults don't like your kids, then it's a good chance that that kid probably doesn't get invited to play. Maybe he doesn't play well with other people. You know what I mean? And he won't understand that it's a reason for that. He might get sad, like, oh, the world hates me. You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, the world doesn't hate you, but when you lose a basketball game, like, your first reaction is to punch somebody in the face. Like, you got to understand, people don't want to play with you if that's going to be your reaction to life, to losing a game. Some people can't handle losing. You know what I mean? So, and he was like, you know, if other adults like your kids, you know what I mean? Like, there's a good chance that other kids are going to like your kids. And when a lot of people like your kids, right, he was saying the whole world opens up to you. The whole world is willing to give you opportunity because it likes you. You know what I mean? Would you want to give an opportunity to someone that you don't like? Like, I mean, yeah, of course, there's a chance that you could, but people have the tendency to want to do favors for people that they actually like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember one time, you know, I did some work for somebody, right? I only wanted $30. The guy gave me 20. He told me to be satisfied with what he gave me, right? You know, and it was a lot about his character that I just didn't personally like. So, you know, after we did that work together, right? Like, you know, like, he wanted more. Like, he contacted me and he wanted something else, you know, and he doesn't realize how my level of enthusiasm has drastically decreased. Because it's like, bro, you try to play with my money, right? And then you want more out of me. You know what I mean? So it's like, yo, like, you got to pay people properly when it comes to their wages. It's the only way to motivate people to want to be there for you. Some people think that, oh, we're boys, I should get one on a house, I should get a freebie. And this goes back to ego, goes back to entitlement. Like, just because I've known you for 15 years doesn't mean if I'm a car mechanic that I should just repair your car for free because you're my boy from high school. So what? You're my boy. Like, I'm managing a business. You know what I mean? Like, I can't give you one on a house. You know what I mean? So it might be times where I could. But one thing I know about people, they're less inclined to want to do things for you if you have a sense of entitlement, if you think people owe you something, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so I got a friend, right? And he notices that his parents seem to like his brother more than him, right? And he feels entitled to receiving the same level of love, right? And, you know, he's like, oh, this is not right. Man, they play favoritism. Like, why do they do that? And one thing I notice about life, the more that you demand that people treat you a certain way, the less they care about treating you the way you prefer to be treated. The more they're like, in their mentally, they're like, yo, I don't have to do nothing for you, man. Like, you're trying to make me feel obligated. I knew this one dude, like, he used to demand that his friends play Fortnite with him. He used to demand that they play Call of Duty or whatever game he feels like playing, he used to demand it. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of times like they just avoided it just for the sake, just to be spiteful, just to remind you, hey, dickhead, like I don't have to do what you say I have to do. Like I could do my own thing. So they would spite him purposely just to teach him a lesson. Like, yo, I don't have to, like, I'm not going to submit to your rule. I do what I want to and not what you ask me to. You know what I mean? So it's crazy how your ego could ignite somebody else's ego. Your pride could spark a flame on somebody else's pride. You know what I mean? Like, you go out of your way to tell someone that they have to do something, and they go out of their way to tell you that you're not their dad. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I told my friend, I'm like, yo, the best way to deal with people, right? Like when it comes to invites, you send one invitation, send two maybe, and then that's it. Don't spam him and don't send him text messages like talking about, yo, where are you? Like, you should play this game with me. You should do this. You know, I remember one time the same guy that I'm talking about, he was like, yo, I don't like friends having private discussions without me. Like if people are on PlayStation or whatever, he feels like I have to be included. He was like, I have to be included in those conversations. And I asked him, I'm like, what if it's a private discussion? What if it's not your business what they're talking about? He was like, nope, I don't care if it's not my business. I want to be a part of that conversation. Entitlement, yo. Entitlement is what makes people say stuff like that. And then when we say it, we think that it sounds logical and rational. And then the outside group doesn't want to accept us. They don't want to be around us because we have such a sense of entitlement. It's so much healthier when you have an attitude like, yo, bro, like if you want to include me in your activities, cool. If you don't want to include me in your activities, cool. Like my life goes on. I'm not going to have a panic attack because you don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Like I know somebody that was like 35 years old, like desperately wants to be included in everything. Like feels like if people are going to parties, they should invite him. If people are, it's like, bro, if people want you there, they'll invite you, but they won't invite you because they're obligated to. Nobody's obligated to do nothing. You know what I mean? People invite you to parties because they want you there, not because they have to send the fucking invitation. And that's the misconception that ego will create. It will create a misconception in your head that things have to be a certain way. No, it doesn't. Like, who said that it has to be that way? You know, who says you have to get an invitation? Who said people have to love you? They have to be kind to you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so one thing I practice when I wake up in the morning, I just, you know, I thank God for the day. And I'm like, God, none of your creations, none of them, they don't owe me nothing. They don't owe me consideration. You don't have to return my text messages. You don't have to return my phone calls. You don't have to be my friend. You have the right to backstab me. You have the right to walk out of my life. You have the right to do all those things that people think are unreasonable. And I don't care about how you behave. Why? Because I'm not here to garner your respect, your loyalty, your trust, any of that stuff. I'm here to fulfill my mission before I die. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, if you backstab me, life goes on. If you're not my friend, life goes on. If you don't return my text, life goes on. If you don't return my phone call, life goes on. And one thing I won't do is complain about how much of an inconvenience you're being towards me, because I don't believe that you're alive to meet my expectations in the first place. You're not alive to please me. You're not alive to do things according to my preference. You're not alive for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm alive for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's my duty to do my best for other people, to try to do right by people as best as I can, you know what I mean? As with whatever power God gives me, to do the right thing by other people and not feel so violated when they don't feel inclined to do the right thing by me, because they're not obligated to want to return favor for a favor. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know why unreasonable people bother you? Because you expect them to be reasonable. You know why people that are completely out of their mind bother you? Because you expect them to be completely within their mind. You know what I mean? So it's like, yo, if you just navigate through life and be more obsessed with being adaptable than you are obsessed with being egotistical and how everything has to pass through your permission and everything has to happen the way that you think it should be happening. Like, be obsessed with being an adaptable person. You know what I mean? And a lot of the stress and worries and anxieties and things you complain about, they're going to fade away, because you're going to have a mentality that doesn't allow you to be a complaining, whining, you know what I'm saying? Like always talking about how agonizing life is. Like, that won't be you anymore, because your focus has shifted. Your focus has shifted from the things that annoy you to you maybe focusing on your life purpose and the things you want to accomplish and the things you want to do and the things that, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, one thing I really know about life is either this world is going to be better because you were born into it, or it's going to be worse because you were born into it. And that's ultimately your privilege, like your decision, your choice. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and some people, they're unconsciously making the world a worse place than it was before they were born into it. And some people are consciously, which is worse, making the world a worse place than it was before they were born into it. You know what I mean? So that's your choice. You know what I mean? So I choose to try to do what I can and try to make this place better. You know what I mean? Have as much impact as I can. And so Yeah, man. You lose your sense of entitlement. If you want to be happy, that stands in the way of your happiness. Complaining is a direct threat to your happiness. If you complain, there's no way for you to complain 2 hours a day and be happy, because when you're complaining, that means you're focusing on everything that's an inconvenience towards you. And if you're focusing on that, you're probably not focusing on your life purpose and, things that, like, you're focusing on how much injustice is in the world. The injustice is not going to go away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you wish everything was equal. Like, you know what I mean? That's not going to happen. Like, there's always going to be injustice. There's always going to be tyranny. It's always going to be communist. It's always going to be socialist and left wingers, and whatever side of politics you hate, it's always going to be that side. Like, what are you going to do? Complain and think that it's going to go away? Like, this world doesn't give a damn about your preference. This world doesn't care that you think the world should be a certain way. It doesn't care that you want it to be a certain way. You know what I mean? The only reason you obsessively say those things is because life is so much of an inconvenience to you and you don't know how to adapt. Because if you knew how to adapt, you wouldn't complain. It's because you don't know how to adapt that you do complain. You know what I mean? So constant complaining means one thing: you don't know how to adapt to what's happening to you. So now you become a product of what happened to you instead of using it to make you strong. You know what I mean? People become sailors and they wish that the wind wouldn't blow so harshly, instead of wishing for the skill set that it takes to navigate through the ocean as a good sailor, using whatever wind that this world feels like giving you and utilizing those winds to take you where you want to go, instead of complaining about why is it so damn windy out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, become a better sailor, become a better navigator. You know what I mean? Become stronger. You know what I mean? Once you get stronger, life gets easier. You're wishing life was easier. Once you get stronger, life does become easier. So pray to become stronger. Pray to be emotionally fortified. You know what I'm saying? Pray to be someone that words bounce right off of you, because you give people full permission to say what they feel like saying, and you don't focus on what they shouldn't have said. You focus on the things that they said that might have been valuable, that might have been useful for you to consume. You focus on that, become the best version of yourself, So anyways, so yeah, to my friend, I'm gonna send this podcast to him, but to my friend who thought that he should be included in every single conversation that takes place, desperately needs to be included into everything, if, like, for as long as you feel like that, there's going to be people that disclude you from conversations just to spite you, maybe just to be an asshole, I guess, maybe, I don't know, or maybe just to show you that, yo, I don't have to include you in anything, you know what I mean? But that's why my attitude on things like that is like, bro, like, if you feel like including me, cool. If you feel like calling me, cool. If you feel like loving me, cool. But if not, cool as well. Like, praise God if you love me, praise God if you don't, praise God if you consider me, praise God if you don't. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be bitter about the attitude that I wish you had, because me wishing that you were different doesn't change you. And there's a good chance that you don't give a damn about what I wish for your life, because you're too stuck doing things the way that you prefer to be doing them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you think the people you complain about give a damn about your complaints? You think the people that you wish changed care that you're so overtaken by their attitude? Like, they probably think that you're sensitive as hell and you need to grow up. And then you probably think the same thing about them, that they need to grow up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, like, I don't know. So, and last thing I want to end with is, I know that you have the solution to your problem. It's within you, Don't think that people need to stop being unreasonable, right? And if they become more reasonable, then you'll be happy, because then that means that your happiness is completely predicated upon other people changing. That means you'll never be happy unless they change their attitude, unless they change their behavior, a lot of people are not going to change, and maybe they will, but don't let your happiness be delayed and be completely dependent upon somebody else making a change. You make the change. Change your perspective on them. You know what I mean? Instead of you thinking that they need to be adaptable to you, you try adapting, because life is amazing when you become very adaptable, because then you don't complain anymore. Then it's not about how people are not meeting your needs, because you're not alive for that stuff anyways. You're not alive for people to do you right, because if you're alive for people to say the right things, then you're only doing as good as people are saying the right things. If you're alive for people to treat you well, then your day is only going as good as people are treating you well. And your strength is predicated on their, like, you're only as strong as they're weak. You know what I mean? And then your life depends on them performing at a certain level for you to be okay. That makes you an emotional vacuum. That makes you a liability to them. Like, that means that, like, when you get in relationships and take on that same mindset into your relationships, you're going to be an emotional vacuum and suck the life out of every relationship you get into, because you get into relationship out of maybe being desperate or desperately, how many people desperately need a partner? Like, they desperately need a woman, or a woman desperately needs a man. And now you come into a relationship out of being desperate instead of, both of you being complete. Like if you're a complete person and the other person's completely complete by themselves without you, right? And those two people come into a relationship, it makes the relationship that much more stronger, because you're not in a relationship because you're clingy as hell and you feel like you're going to die unless you are in one. You know what I mean? You're in a relationship because you have something to give instead of having something to need and something to extract and something to suck the life out of everybody around you. You know what I mean? Like human relationships, they're so damn needs driven. You know what I'm saying? So like, here's one thing I don't need people for. I don't need you to realize my worth. You know what I mean? Because if nobody in this world knows my worth, if I believe in Jesus, if I believe that he died on the cross, right, that proves my worth. Like the God of the universe thinks I'm cool. Like, you know what I mean? You think he would send his son to die for somebody that, you know what I mean? Like that's a high price to pay for humanity, and nobody pays a high price for nothing. You know what I mean? Like if you walk into a car lot right now and you see a $20,000 car, like you wouldn't take a $20,000 car and be like, yo, here's 60K, like here's 65,000. I just want to give you a huge tip because I like the car so much. Like, nah, if anything, you're trying to negotiate a better price or lower price. You're seeing a car that's worth 20,000. You're trying to get it for 14,000. You know what I mean? You're trying to negotiate lower. You know what I mean? Like people are mostly bargain choppers. You know what I mean? 2 for 1. So anyways, if God sent his son to die for the world, then what does that mean about the value of your life? That means you're valuable. You know what I mean? So the way I see other people is I see them as being worth Jesus dying on a cross for them, regardless of their arrogant attitude, regardless of how they behave, regardless of whatever sin they struggle with, regardless of all of that. You know what I'm saying? I have to view them as being worthy people, worthy of God's love. You know what I'm saying? And, because otherwise I'll get egotistical and I'll think that they don't deserve life, or they should kill themselves, or they're not worthy of anything. And it's like, who am I to decide that when God already decided it? The fact that they're even alive means that they're valuable. You know what I mean? Because if their purpose in this world was done, they wouldn't be here anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, give me a second. Look at my notifications right quick. Yeah, man. Anyways, so yeah, man, ego will make you quick to say what type of punishment someone deserves. You know what I mean? What type of justice needs to take place? What type of, you know what I mean? And ego, like with ego, like if you turn into an egomaniac, it won't be tempered with grace. There will be no mercy. It'll be only justice. You know what I mean? And if this world was all justice all the time, nobody would be able to stand living in this world. That means every time you do something bad, there's consequences instantly. That means when you're raising your kids, there's no, I gotta warn you 6 times and then comes the ass whooping. There's instant ass whoopings for everything that you do wrong every time. And imagine if everything was like that. Like when it comes to the law, there's no getting a second chance. There's no like, oh, this is a misdemeanor. But you know what I mean? Like, they're straight, like, whatever you deserve for that, you get it right away. You know what I mean? Like, nobody would be able to function in a world like that. So thank God that, you know what I mean, that there's grace. Like, thank God that the sun shines for the righteous and the unrighteous. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, to the egomaniac, if he was God, the sun would only shine for people that he personally likes. And, like most people have a focus group of 15 people that they give a damn about, and the world will be dark for everybody else because they don't care about everybody else. They only care about those 15 people, like, their mom, their dad, a couple cousins here and there, a couple friends here and there. Like most people don't care about more than 15 people. You know what I mean? So, and anyways, so I could do this podcast all day, but I'm pretty much done. I'm trying to see if there's any thoughts that I want to close this thing on. Yeah, man, just let go of entitlement, let go of ego. Stop thinking people owe you stuff, and you'll be happy. That's the ramifications of you letting go of ego. Like life's gonna reward you more. You know what I mean? It's such a good feeling. It's such a good feeling. Like, let's say somebody's supposed to call you at 8 p.m. tonight, right? 8 p.m. happens, they don't call. 2 weeks later, they still don't get in contact. It's gonna be such a good feeling for you to not care about how long other people have been distant from you, and for that not to be the first conversation you have. We hold each other so accountable, like, because you don't realize how annoying, how nagging you're being to them. Like every time you talk to them, the first thing you do is complain about how long it's been since the last time you talked. So as soon as they answer the phone, the first thing you do is complain. You know how overbearing that could become for the person receiving that all the time? Like, it makes you an emotional liability to them. Like, they eventually they're like, yo, this person's clingy as hell, man. I don't want to deal with this person. And you might not realize that they feel that way because people don't always tell you how they feel. So it might just cut you off out of nowhere, and you might think, man, well, what did I do wrong? Well, I thought I was a good friend. No, like, you complain all the time. Yo, how come it's been 10 months since we talked? How come? And I know this for a fact because I used to do this to people. Like, there was this girl that I love so much, and she only spoke to me like 4 times a year, 5 times a year. I used to ask her stuff like, yo, man, can I talk to you like twice a week or every 2 weeks? Or, I used to try to negotiate her time with me, you know what I mean? And it used to annoy her. I know why it annoyed her now, because she was like, man, this guy has entitlement. He has expectation. Like, I don't owe you any of my time. Like, I talk to you 4 times a year. Like, you ought to be glad I talk to you 1 time a year. You know what I mean? So basically, like, I was dissatisfied with the amount of time that I was getting, and I was always trying to bargain for more time, as if she owes me that. She doesn't owe me shit. You know what I mean? But so yeah, just having those conversations over and over and over, it just got on her nerves, you know what I mean? To the point where now I'm cut off, and now, like, I'm not a needs driven person anymore. And, she might never get to see the change that occurred in my life, and so I pushed her away with that shit, being clingy, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, so now any relationship that I ever get into, it's never going to be out of necessity. It's always going to be out of preference. It's not because I desperately need you to be in a relationship with me. You know what I mean? It's because I'm going to have something to give, whatever that is, and it's much better to be in relationships because you prefer to be in one, and not because you desperately need it, because you're going to die if you're not in one. You know what I mean? Because then that means you're always pulling at something and bringing people down to your level. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, yeah, man. So yeah, it just feels good when you don't feel like you have to be a part of every conversation, when you don't have to get invited to every club, when you don't have to get invited to every party, and when you don't care whether or not people invite you, because you're not alive for people to send you invitations to do the things that you think they should be doing, because you're so focused on your goals and your dreams and your hopes and your aspirations that you don't even have time to have an emotional response to your expectation being failed, because you demand more from yourself than you demand from others. And that's so powerful when you get to that place, you know what I'm saying? And I know that's available for everybody, to be more of a focus driven person, to focus on the things that actually matter. Most people aren't doing well in life emotionally because they major in minor things. You know what I mean? So make sure that what you're majoring in is not a minor thing. You don't turn a little thing into a huge thing. You know what I mean? And when you're not a goal orientated person, these are the things that you have time to do with your life. You have time to take little things and turn it into a big deal, because what the hell else are you going to do with your time besides complain about the structure of governments and Trump and policies and this and socialists and communists, and you know what I'm saying? Everything you complain about is probably going to still continue to happen. So be more obsessed with being adaptable, because it's going to put an end to your complaining. Be obsessed with the things that you have gratitude for, the things that you're thankful to God for, whatever those things might be, and learn to focus more of your attention on those things, because gratitude kills complaining. You know what I mean? Like, and there's no way for them to balance each other out. Either you're going to have more gratitude than you complain, or you're going to complain more than you have gratitude. And if you complain all the time, you're going to be unhappy. But if you have a tremendous amount of gratitude, you're going to be happy, man, because you're going to focus on the things that make you excited to be alive, instead of can you imagine focusing 3 hours a day on the things that don't make you excited to be alive? Eventually you're not excited to be alive at all, man. It shit probably turns into suicidal thoughts, and your mental health just depreciating over time, so yeah, man, what you focus on is what you're going to feel the emotions of. So be careful what you focus on, and as quickly as you could think a new thought, you could feel a different emotion. People think that they can't control their emotions. You might have been hardwired a certain way, like life might have taught you how to respond to things, and that's why your emotions feel like they're on autopilot. As soon as somebody does something, it generates the same response out of you, and isn't it crazy that the shit we care about in 3rd grade is the same shit we care about when we're 33 years old? When we're 45 years old, we actually still care that people talk about us behind our back. That shit still matters to us. You know what I mean? We actually hate when people say bad things about us behind our back. Why? Because we think that they have no business saying those things, because we have a criteria on what other men should be following. Should and shouldn't. It's destroying people's lives. Stop using the word should. Stop using the word shouldn't in your sentences, and watch what that little difference does to your life when you're not obsessed with what should be happening or what shouldn't be happening, and you start demanding more from you than you do from anyone else. You know what I'm saying? Like, So yeah, man, I guess I'll end it on that note. I don't know what else to end it on. And yeah, man, see you on the next podcast. Take care.